Hello, my friends. Big Mark here, back with the secrets behind the red doors. Nice to see you again. Thank you for all the subscribers last week, you guys. You know, it's great. People love the show. I want to thank you. Keep subscribing. Hit that little bell. I want to do two things first. I want to make a shout out to two guys. My friend Donnie Ragusa, thank you very much for that. And Muggsy, thank you. Appreciate it. You know, people send something out. I don't know, ask them. They want to do it. It helps. It helps with the podcast and what we're trying to do here. Also, I see my friend Kevin. Kevin's here, and I want to introduce you to a special friend. All right. Kevin knows him longer than I do, but when I met him, he left an impression on me. After a couple of meetings, I never forgot him when I was in Brooklyn. I want you to introduce yourself to Tony Bellisi. Wait, say hello to Tony.
How are you?
That Tony Bellisi, we call him Tony Chickens. Great guy from Brooklyn, around a long time. Tony's a young 94. He looks better than me and Kevin, the guy. Right? So he's a guy I told you about. I want you to meet him. A lot of people like him. Well-respected guy, smart guy, but, helped out a lot of people. And one thing I want to say, most importantly, he was big with cerebral palsy for decades. Ran a lot of events for them, raised a lot of money for them. So he's a guy like this, a special guy to me. It's not about making money, it's about giving money too. So Tony, I want you to start off because I want a little background. Tell our friends out there how you started and who you started with, where you came up.
Well, it was a family deal. My family came from Sicily. My grandfather was a very big guy there. And when the first war was about to start, my grandfather sent my father to the United States to live because he was in the army for 2 years, but he didn't want him to go into the Italian army for the war. And he came to the United States and he met my mother. They got married. My mother and father, between the both of them, we had 16 kids, 16 brothers and sisters.
Wow, 16. God bless you.
Two kids died from diphtheria. And then I had 14 of us. So 14 of us living in a house. I was born in 1931, so it was Depression. We didn't have food to eat. My father came here. He lost everything in the Depression, not with the stock market, but he had butcher shops. He had two stores in Brooklyn. And he wound up people coming in, they wanted to eat. They didn't have any money, so he gave it to them. They marketed a book. He never got paid. He wound up folding up his butcher shops. He wound up working for WPA. And my father was brought up like the Vanderbilts in Italy because of my grandfather. So wound up that as we went on, I started to shine shoes when I was 7. And Nicholas Shine, I was McKent for when I was shining shoes.
And back then it was tough, in the 30s with Depression.
Yeah. So when I was 12 years old, I got into delivering orders in a butcher shop with my father. He worked for Paulie Castellano's cousin, and I became a butcher. And I wound up starting, and had my brothers, had 7 brothers and me, and we wound up, I started with one store, and before you know it, we had like 5 stores, and I had one brother managing each store. And then in one of my stores, I come up with the chicken cutlets.
Yeah.
So I started making chicken cutlets. Now I got in touch with the supermarkets and went to them. At that time, veal was very expensive and chickens was very cheap. So what we did was we sold it to the supermarkets. The first supermarket chain I had, they bought 7,000 pounds. I had my wife, my sisters, my nieces, everybody working in the place making these cutlets for the supermarkets.
Remember that factory?
What?
Remember the factory?
Yeah, I remember the factory. So tell me, so I want to go to your interactions with the Castellanos and Gambinos, because that's legendary, what you said.
Okay. As far as you're concerned, I just told you Gambino was my sister's godfather. Paulie Castellano and I were very good friends. When my father was dead and everything else, I used to take my father to to Paulie Castellano's father on Ocean Parkway. Once a week, they used to have coffee. I used to drive them. They used to drive me back and travel back and forth. Well, now that we get, Paulie winds up going to jail. He gets out of jail. When he got out of jail, he called for me. He says to me, I want to keep the relationship between you and me with our fathers. I said, it's okay with me. And ever since then, we were very good friends. We did business together. We did a lot of help. We had an association which Paulie started. It was the Allied Butchers Association. We had about 15 members, all the small butcher shops. The union was going around trying to organize all these stores. And these guys got the union, they would have been out of business.
Yeah.
So we wound up that we stopped the unions from going into the stores. And we saved all these guys. So that's one of the nice things that Paulie did. He did a lot of nice things.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that. Same thing with Petey. Petey had a store with my brother. My brother was partners with him in the store, and they got along very well. So it's been a thing from Sicily. It came to the United States, and we lived the same way as friends and almost like relatives. You know.
What happened? What afterwards? You have any trouble with his cousin Petey?
With who?
Petey. You have trouble with his cousin Pete?
Yeah, well, Pete was a renegade a little bit. Good guy, but a renegade, you know.
Yeah.
He just said he wanted me to buy from him, and he was sending me the wrong stuff, and I told him, I don't want you to sell me no more. And then he had said to me, he says, you know, I'm going to break your windows. I says, Petey, I got one store. How many stores you got? You got 4? I'm going to break 4 windows.
Love it. That's the way. Listen, I learned. Kevin, he would excuse me for a minute, Tony. Kevin told me, you know, and I asked guys about you, and it's a special story. Really, I respect you just for what you went through. But did you ever meet Carlo Gambino was your sister's godfather? Have any interaction with him?
Yes, not much.
Yeah.
I used to see him once in a while. We went to a restaurant every Easter, and he used to be there, and that's when I used to see him. You know, he had his family there, and I had my family.
So
there was a restaurant in Brooklyn that he used to go to.
That was the name on Harway Street, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Villa something.
Villa Vivolo.
That's
yeah,
it.
Villa Tivolo. Yeah.
Villa Vivolo.
Yeah.
Food was excellent there.
There was a sign on. I saw a picture of it online the other day. An old picture of Villa.
Yeah, and then they have a place now out in Long Island where Vinny is.
Yes, yeah, it's Sempre Vivolo.
Yes.
Vivolo.
So Tony, where was your first factory? I know where it is. I mean,
my first factory was on Utica Avenue and Clarendon Road. It was a store I took over from a Jewish guy. He was making turkey, and I got it in that. When the back end of my butcher shop was big enough to do all the work, I needed a place to work at. So I bought the place from this guy, and then from there, maybe about a year, 2 years later, I built a big place where I hired 80 people. I used to have Haiti used to call me. I said, "Oh, you want people with got their papers and everything?" And I hired about 80. Most of them were women.
Wow.
So they worked in the
Hard
store.
workers. Hard workers.
Yeah.
And we had I was doing 4 trailer loads of chicken a week.
Wow.
Which is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was selling all the supermarkets until the supermarkets wound up like Frank Perdue. I went to his plant. I showed him how to make the cutlets. I showed him how to set up everything. And he was supposed to make cutlets and sell it all to me. He never sold it to me. He went to Boston. He gave it to Boston.
Yeah.
So he stabbed me in the back, as far as I'm concerned.
That's what a lot of guys
before you know it, all these chicken places that are in the United States, all are making chicken cutlets. If it was not for me coming up with the idea with the chicken cutlets, they'd all be in trouble.
Imagine that.
That item made them what they are today.
That's like your friend that I went with you to up in New Haven, Connecticut.
Right. He makes
Another
portion
big
control chicken. He's
You know,
still in business.
I want our friends out there to think about this. The guy put together chicken cutlets. Now, think of all the variants of chicken cutlets from all the fast food restaurants. Chicken
Yeah.
Parmesan, chicken fingers, all
Chicken
came from his
franchise.
chicken cutlets that he developed for. You think about the impact of this guy. That's what I'm saying. That's why we wanted Tony on, not because of all the street guys he knew, but this guy had an impact. You know what, Tony? Talk about your impact with cerebral palsy. I know it's big to you, it's close to your heart.
Yes. Well, we got a friend of ours by the name of Jimmy T. He had a son who was in it, had it, and I got involved into with Nick Emanuel. He was like the director, and I was like the assistant director in cerebral palsy. So we got into that, and we did that for about 20 years. Now we had all the union guys, all the labor unions, all the Teamster unions. I used to put them on phones so they can answer the phone. And people could donate money back. You know,
It must
in
have
those
raised
days,
millions.
we made millions and millions and millions of cerebral palsy.
We had a lot
We also did.
of celebrities.
That's what I wanted to say. How the celebrities you got?
A lot of
that came, that
celebrities.
you got.
Like
We had-
Florence
We
Heatherson,
had,
Charlie
uh,
Daniels, all
we
of
had,
them.
well, you named the star. They were on the
Yes.
teleprompter. We had it was like Frank Sinatra did with what's his name? The other guy had the Jewish guy,
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis. Yeah, and we were like in competition, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
who we had and said so on and so forth, you know. It
Tell-
was a big run, but we did a lot of good.
Oh,
We talked
yeah, that's
about all the guys.
Tell them about
All these guys that are supposed to be bad guys.
Wild Bill. Wild Bill was on there too.
He was on the Wild Bill was on the
Brought a lot of money in.
on the bill. He brought a lot of money in. They all brought a lot of money.
Yes.
They all.
This is a side I want
in
people
charge,
to know.
I was in charge of it with Nick Emanuel, but all the things went through me and him. You know,
And
and we
it's,
raised them all kinds of. I can't say we did the amount of money it's.
Well, see
Until
what
it
you-
got to the point where we couldn't do the telethon anymore because now they wanted to get too much money
yeah.
to pay whatever. And it
Well,
just disintegrated.
also Dennis James passed away because I was on the show with you a few
Yes.
times with that,
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
we thought
Dennis
his son
James was the
Bradley
first
was
one.
going to take the show.
right.
See, I'm telling about Tony. You know, this is all these guys, these tough guys, a lot of tough guys. Tony says,
Yeah.
I need you to come give money, donate time. Not even I'll let you know when, whatever you need. Right, Tony? You told me that.
That's right.
Right.
I mean, this is the side I want people to see. You know, you got them rats out there that all talk about his crimes, and this guy did this guy was bad. We're talking about guys that Tony knew, Kevin, myself, they had other sides to them, right, Tony?
If you know all the guys that I know, I can give you names of guys that most of them are all dead now. You know,
Well, go ahead.
all these guys, they were men. It was Paul Castellano, Petey Castellano. And my memory goes on me because my age is catching up with me.
Well, you're going to be 34 pretty soon. That's why, you know. Well, like, tell me about like when you got pitched
Yes,
in your chicken joint, right?
yes.
What happened that day?
My nephew had put some stolen whiskey and stuff like that in the back of my place. And the FBI came in and found it there. And then that's how they pinched me.
And so
But it wasn't me, it was my nephew.
okay.
Yeah.
And so what happened? You took the rap, right?
So I had to take the rap. Yes, I went to, I went on trial and I had my lawyer, Ronnie Fischetti.
Oh, Ronnie Fischetti.
Wow.
And
Good
all
lawyer.
the FBI and all the guys were saying what a bad guy I was. Here I was with a plant with 80 people working, paying taxes, paying them wages, putting chickens, helping a lot of people, and they called me a gangster.
You know
Yeah.
why they call you a gangster? You know why? Can I say something to interrupt you? You know why they call him a
As
gangster?
a foul at the end.
Because you're Italian, right? You had the
That-
vowel at the end, and you
Exactly.
had friends you grew up with. Doesn't matter that you were involved with them, just that you grew up with them,
Right.
and that's a shame. It really is.
Yeah.
So continue the story. So you went away. Where'd you go? Where did they send you?
Well, I had 4 years I was away.
And where'd
I
you
went
go?
to college. I was in Allenwood.
Okay.
And while I was in Allenwood, there was a lot of people, a lot of guys I knew and so on and so forth. But When I was there, we had a thing of the JCs, they call it. Now I became the boss of the JCs. We used to every month give Christmas cards, Easter cards. Every time it was a holiday, we put cards out in the gym, and the guys used to buy it to send out to their kids or their wives or their family or whatever. And in case I ran that. We used to put a movie on every Saturday. So when I got there were movies. We were buying. I had a book that I had to get certain pictures for the guys to see on Saturday. And then we had a popcorn. I got a popcorn stand in there. So the guys had popcorn and they were watching the movie on Saturday. But it all had to go. But it started, I was paying $250 for a film. I wound up by looking at certain things in its I got a machine that I could put a tape in, like the tapes. So I called the guys in town that I want to buy tapes, and the tapes were $10. Instead of paying $250,
We're paying $10.
I was paying $10, and I was seeing the same movies.
Question.
So I did a lot of that. We had all the money that we made with the JCs. Thanksgiving, all the guys in Allenwood, we all bought turkeys for them, for the people there, and so on and so forth. When we were getting furloughs, I never got a furlough. I was too notorious to go to them concerned. Anyway, they wouldn't let them go into the town. We've given these people food and doing everything, but you won't let us in your town.
Yeah, that's I want see this. I tell you, we talk about this all the time. A guy like this, listen. I met him. You introduced me to him. In Brooklyn.
How many years I know you, Tony? Almost 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
So when I met him,
I know you 35.
So what I'm getting at is, when you meet the guy and you talk to him, that's my experience with him.
Exactly.
You walk away going, wow, what a great guy. What a nice guy, smart man, and not a weakling either. He's got what we call Italian castañas. He's got nuts, He don't take no crap from nobody. And you admire that. So for years later, I always ask when I see Kevin, hey, how's Tony Chickens doing? You know what I mean? He's doing good. He's out.
No, it's amazing that he said that, because so many people, Tony, say to me, how's Tony? All the time. And people don't realize how many people you helped in life. You're like a father to me, okay? And
you're like a son to me.
I know that.
It's like a sister. We're like sisters.
That's the idea.
Turn around. It's like all the good times we had together. We have some bad times together.
That's part of life.
That's part of life.
Yeah.
But, let everybody know when you came over by the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club, too, how you met John. When you were away, it goes back to
Tell me about when you met him in MCC. Tell me your experience with John. What you think
I met
of
him
him?
in MCC. John, I was running the kitchen, and I was running the kitchen.
Yeah.
I was the butcher and all that. To say something ahead in Allenwood, I was on a farm, and we used to kill, we used to kill 5 cattle every 2 months. And then they used to send it to me, and I said, the guys in Allenwood had filet mignon every Christmas and every New Year's.
Nice.
Because of the way I was cutting. I made chicken cutlets for them. I made pork cutlets for them. I was feeding them like you wouldn't believe. Now going back to MCC, MCC and the same thing. The warden that was at the other place came to, and he became a good friend of mine.
Okay.
Because I worked the kitchen, and he says to me, Tony, you helped me in Allenwood. What can we do here? I says, understand one thing. When the guy is in jail, they don't need clothes. They don't need money. They want to eat. You got to give them food. You keep giving them food, and the guys will be happy, and they're good. They never got chicken. They used to get chicken every 6 weeks.
Really?
When I took over the buying and all the stuff for the food administrator, they were getting chicken every week.
Wow.
They were buying chicken for, let's say, $1.10. I was buying chicken leg quarters for 25 cents. And we were allowed to spend $2,500 local guys and they used to send the chicken in, and the guys had chicken because most
That's
of the guys
nice.
were Spanish.
Yeah.
They were mostly Spanish, and they loved dark meat. So we did that. We used to put on what we call picnics. There's 9, I think 8 floors there, and every floor, every month, they got a picnic. And then in the afternoon, we used to make big spreads. And this is what this warden, I talked to him and told him this one. That's what we did. And we had no problem at all in the place with that. When I was ready to leave, a lot of my friends says, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going. My time is up." "Can't you stay? What are you, out of your mind?" I says,
So what happened to MCC? Tell me your experience with John and how you feel about him.
well, John was, I see him every day. He came back from court. He used to be maybe 20, 30 feet away from me. I'm in one door, and I was down by the kitchen. And he turned around. "How you doing, John?" He said, "I murdered them today," he says. So whatever he was talking about. But and he was a quiet guy. I used to say him, "Hello, how are you? How you doing?" So I couldn't talk to him much. They wouldn't let me near him,
Yeah.
Although, so.
But you got to know him after that. You even visited him, right? But
Oh yeah, I was a friend of his. He was a friend of mine. He was a good guy, good man.
Yeah.
People got the wrong idea of what he is.
Yeah, I know. They get the wrong idea. He's a
There's a
tough
lot
guy,
out
real
there,
tough
you're
guy.
He was a good guy. He was a tough guy and everything else, but he was helpful. And he was always for the underdog, helped everybody.
Yeah, that's what I keep on telling everybody. That's
And
what
most of the guys that I know that they're not around, even Petey Castellano helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
Holy Castellano, a lot of people. So many guys. I mean, I can go names after names, and all these guys all helped, especially with the cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
We raised a lot of money all because of all these guys that were friends of mine. Because the guys that were my friends were all on the other side.
Yeah.
Those were all informers.
Yeah. There's a lot of
That
them
they got
too.
out there. They got them now
Informants and jealousy.
on the podcast. They're all informants, and they're happy.
Yeah, it's amazing how them guys want to take and talk to the guests and make them give them money and tell them lies and tell them stories.
Yeah.
I got a guy right here. Listen, more so than me, you and Kevin too. They broke their, you broke your ass. You broke your ass all your life. You're not asking for anything, but you know what? You want to be judged for who you are and your character, right? Nothing else. I mean, come on. You could have $1 million or a million pennies. Doesn't matter. You could
Right.
judge by your character.
Money is nothing.
Yeah, that's right. So, and that's what this podcast about. Listen, I was around. I told you how John. I thought of him. Even Jeannie. These are guys are good men, and I don't judge them for what they did. I only judge them for how they treated me and other people around them. And if a guy needed a job, he got him a job. A guy needed a handout, he got him a handout. That's all you should ever judge anybody by, right, Tony? You lived.
Of course. That's the whole thing.
You bumped heads with a lot of guys. I know you did.
I did.
Tony, I remember meeting, I was saying on the show here one time how I met Tony Lee.
Yes.
Okay. And it was through you when we went to the Seashell on Avenue U. And that
Right.
was his hangout all the time.
Right.
And then later on I got this ring. I told the audience came from Tony Lee years ago.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
Sweetheart. Another good guy.
Another good guy. Helped everybody.
Oh, see what you say about Tony Lee too? Johnny went away, right? He was locked up. And Tony Lee says, "Mark, listen, I got some work for you. Want to do some work? Numbers work. To handle the numbers back."
Yeah, right, yeah.
I says, "Really, Tony? So I love you, man." He says, "You're a good guy. You're smart." He says, and that was nice of him. And I didn't hang out with Tony and Dom and them. I mean, I used to go by, see them once in a while. But they knew us from 98th Street. But that never separated because I try to explain to people. That club, Fat Andy and Tony Lee's club, used to walk in the club. Remember the front door, Liberty Club? You walk in, there was a wooden statues, little wooden statues. It was Fat Andy, Tony Lee, and Ciro Perone.
Wow, Ciro.
Yeah, because they were
Another
childhood friends. And I say, wait, Ciro's from somewhere else, hung out somewhere else, and Tony Lee and Andy the partners. But that's how these guys were. Sonny Francis knew Andy. They were kids together. They were teenagers together. Sonny
He
Francis,
was
Fat
a bar-
Andy. You know,
Tony, you was also away with Tony Gork, my guy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tony knew Tony good.
you know, so and these are and like you know, and there's too many guys that they're talking bad about people they don't
Oh.
really know,
Crazy.
right?
Yeah.
You
well, I
know
met
that.
him in court. There's Tony Gork. I met him in court. One of his friends was on trial, and I had my nephew did something, and I was there. And I happened to be talking to him. I didn't know him. We were sitting next to one another, and where you from? And then we start talking. And we see all the conversation about who you know, who's a friend. And, you know, so we became friends. He says, you want to get a haircut? He says to me, he used to hang out in the barber shop. I never knew.
But
I said, what do you
see,
mean I want to get a haircut? He says, you come, anytime you want a haircut, you come over there, you get a haircut.
but that's it's
was-
something simple like that, a gesture like
That was Tony
Tony Gork.
Gore.
Yeah.
Don't touch his car though.
There's too many what do you call it, Tonys around.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you a
I
funny story.
I had what's his name, Tony Salerno. My daughter got married while I was away, but they let me out. I had to get okay from Washington, and I got the okay from Philadelphia. So they finally, after they let me go out for 8 hours,
Okay.
my daughter's wedding. So I put to take her down the aisle, and when I came back with a lot of cigars, and Tony Salerno was smoke. I used to get all the cigars for him. So
Yeah.
even these guys in there, I used to try to get as much food I can get for these guys.
Yeah.
I did things I wasn't supposed to do, but I did it.
We did
You
it.
know, I could have got a lot of trouble, but I made sure the guys got it. I had one year, these guys had a quarter of a chicken. They had macaroni with sausage, because I brought all the stuff in, because I made the budget go down, and I stopped buying stuff that was cheap inside the budget.
But
So
I'll say something.
the food administrator guy was, he says, Tony, do what you can, because I made him a star.
Yeah.
Because all of these are good. Same thing with the warden when he came. I made him a star in Allenwood. Every place I go, I don't know how everything came to me, but
Is that the warden that I met?
yeah.
I'm not
Well, yeah.
saying the name who he brought in. When he tells me, come on, we got to bring a guy to prison. Are you nuts? Are you nuts? I'm not going no prison. I had enough of them.
I had enough time. I ain't gonna go
Yeah.
back there.
Oh, we bought some individual there.
Funny thing is when
The warden saw me, he hugged me. He can
Yeah.
tell you.
I remember.
when Johnny sent me to Brooklyn, right?
Right.
When he sent me to Brooklyn, 1984, right? And me and Kevin used to run around, whatever. I was hanging out with Kevin, and Kevin used to take me by your plant all the time. And
Yeah.
Tony had, and I never seen something, I want to tell the folks, but Tony had prepared dinners.
That was the
Yeah.
other plan.
I never seen that before. That's 1983, 84. You have
Yeah.
prepared meals that you're shipping out. And I'm looking at, now it's the biggest craze. All the supermarkets all
You
over the
started
world.
that too.
You started that without even trying.
Right.
This is 40 years ago. You had prepared meals, and that was a big. I was looking, I'm watching, and all these black people, right, from Haiti,
right. Yeah.
working
Yeah.
there, working hard. Tony's walking around. He had his, he had his coat on,
His apron.
the apron on, and he goes, "Mark, hey, you want some chicken? Take some chicken. Eat a piece." He looked like you're giving a fat guy chicken. I giving him food, But I like going to see him because the conversation. Let's be honest, and I'm not trying to downgrade anybody. But we got along a lot better than the other guy. The Indian was in his own friggin' world. You know what I mean? The crazy Indian. But
Yeah.
we were like, I was bad enough. He just elevated me a couple of steps.
He comes in my after hours. You remember the after hours?
Yes.
You've been there many times. And all of a sudden, the first night I take him there, he's not supposed to be out. Right? I got him out because I felt sorry for him, and turned around. I was talking to somebody else, and sure enough, he was supposed to watch in the door, and we got raided. And I said,
I didn't know anybody.
he didn't know nobody.
He didn't know. I don't know. I never been there before, so I don't know who comes in and out. They raided. They didn't do nothing to us, but
Yeah, they didn't want to do the paperwork on me.
yeah. So funny thing about him, he says, "Let's get the frig out of here." So he goes, and I remember he used to say, "I'm taking Mark a ride. We're going to go to see Tony Chickens." And we goes, "What are you going there for?" "We're going to see Tony." You know, he was a,
Oh, Willie.
yeah, Willie was too busy betting horses and whatever doing, but
Willie was he ratted on me.
right on everybody.
Yeah.
But you know, but what I'm saying is, I thought when you got pinched, when he got pinched in his place with the liquor,
Yeah.
didn't somebody come visit you before that?
Didn't somebody visit you before that?
Yeah. There were, what's his name? One of Tony's partner. What was his name?
Sonny's son.
Yeah, Sonny's son. Yeah.
Sonny's son,
He was-
Michael.
yeah, Michael. Yeah.
So he visited you, and you got
He came. In fact, he was an MCC, and he came in. He got pinched and for I don't know what liquor stuff, not liquor, but gas. The gas things
the
he
gas
had.
tax.
And I said to the food administrator, I said, I got to get this guy, bring him down to the kitchen. So he brought him down. His guy came and ratted me out in the place.
wow.
And that's where they found all the stuff. And nothing to do with me. He was my nephew. That's dead now.
It's a coincidence, but right?
Yeah.
It's a coincidence that he was there, his guy.
But I told him, yeah.
And what did he
But
say when
I
you told him?
I says, what are your guys, this, and this? He said, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's
And that's when he was chirping.
yeah, chirping.
Telling him everything.
They're still chirping, Tony.
You know, it's
Yeah.
funny, you know, because Tony loved him. Tony used to tell me how he used to go to this kid's football games, watch them all over and stuff, you know. And, you know, like I said on one of the podcasts, Tony was a man. He believed in that oath, and he did what he had to do. Okay?
Course.
Nobody could tell me different because I knew the whole story, you know, from and then people. And he banged on the table that day without mentioning the guy's name, turned around and says, how did he get involved? How did he get involved?
Well, but here's the thing, Tony, you know too, but guys made mistakes. Nobody was perfect.
Of course.
We're human.
Of course.
So some guys, they make mistakes in their life. You know, you know what the old saying, a friend of ours that we know told me a story about what a rat is, you know, how you identify a rat. A rat who is somebody who turns on his friend and hurts his friend.
That's right.
What's
That's an
worse?
informer.
Yeah, and how he hurts and turns on his friend. What's worse than that in life if you turn on your friend? Because if you don't know the guy, how can you know what's going on? So you have to be close to him. So think about it. So if they turn on their friends, what do they say? They're not going to turn on everybody else they do business with, right? So that's where I'm getting at. So, you know, like I said, you know, I'm not going to qualify who is who what.
Well, to add on to that, do you remember I come to you and told you that Tony Gork told me you got an instant divorce from this Willie boy? Remember that? And turn around, I didn't understand why. Yeah, did he get mad at me? Yeah, because I told him nobody's going to tell me who to stay with and not stay with. My mother and father never told me who to stay with and not. He was foaming from his mouth. That day I thought I was going.
Well, you got to stand. So he did a lot of sneaky stuff, Willie. Thought of disappearing, you know.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. Nobody knew that.
Yeah, but you know what?
None of us knew it.
The best part is, like, you know, when I took that pitch, he shut the shades and locked the door, Tony.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And they said to me that day,
yeah,
we're not here for you.
Yeah. And then after I got pitched, I remember John telling me, the only reason you didn't get pitched right away because they didn't want to blow Willie Boy's cover.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Right.
That is so, you know, and it's just, you know, there's a guy, John, when they told him, John, you're going to jail. He went like this. Went in like a man. You know, he always knew where he was going, or Jeannie, or even Angelo. They went to jail. Sonny Francis, they went to jail. They made them so, and you got a guy doing the most, not just him, other guys. I don't understand it because they're your friends. I mean, not all of them, but even your family. You hurt your family when you do that too. John had a story. You know, you told me you should go visit John by the club. And there's a story about Peter Castellano. I want to hear it because you told me, and I think it's funny about you told John. John says I talked to Peter Castellano. What did he say? He don't know you, right?
Well, I had that thing. He had asked me one day, and when I was there, I had a cup of coffee with him, and he says, "What I asked Pete Castellano if he knew you, meaning me.
Yeah.
And he said, no. I says, John, wait, you got a dime? Yeah, that time you could have put a dime in the phone.
Yeah.
He had a phone in the club.
Yeah,
on the
next
wall.
door. Yeah.
So I took the dime and said, John, come with me. I'm on the phone. I put the dime in. I dialed the number without looking at no papers. I said,
Yeah.
because I did meat business with her. We did a lot of legitimate stuff with it. Anyway, I says, I'm over here with a friend of ours, and you said you don't know me. So I gave the phone to John. John got on the phone and says, yeah, I know him. You know what I mean? He hung up. John says, what a pain in the ass this guy is.
Listen, 10 cents, you're showing your age too back then.
Yeah, 10 cents, you should get away your age. But John says he's a pain in the ass, an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
What reason, listen, the guy came up poor. Johnny, they came up poor. I want, these guys, what I love about what you did is he went to jail, took over the kitchen, he fed the guys. And we talk about Tony. If you watch my podcast, everybody says, what do you use? The guy's a cooking show? Because we're talking about pasta dishes, this guy ate, because they love to eat. Listen, Johnny, guys like John, and the guys talk about, did he hang out with chase girls? Listen to me. Here's one guy, handsome guy, well-dressed. There's two most things he loved to do best was gamble and eat. Yeah. If you could give him a racetrack or a sports bet and a dinner, they were happy. You know that. These guys wanted to gamble and eat. That's all they wanted to do. And hang out with their friends, ate it from bullshit, smoke a cigar. They didn't go out. You didn't, when you watch TV, some of these TV shows, you got these wise guys with 87 girls and bikinis. That did not happen. That was not like that.
I was in the Golden Gloves in 1950, so I was a fighter. I was in the ring since I was 14 years old. I worked for the police department. They had the
PAL.
PAL, yeah. And I was 1950. I was going to go pro. I was ready to go pro fighter. And I used to go to the gym and all this kind of stuff. Many things. Every time I seen John, let's go a couple of rounds. Used to tell me every time. Go a couple.
Well, did you know Abel Baldieri?
Yeah.
Oh, Abel. He trained Jerry Cooney. He did. He trained Jerry Cooney before he got famous. But Abel Abel was around Fat Andy and Tony Lee. Was a boxing trainer, and he tells me, he goes, great guy. He worked at a place, Tony, Lost Battalion Hall, Queens Boulevard. They gave him a ring. He used to train fighters. So he's in the club, and I go to see Tony Lee, Skinny Dom. I had to give him a message, and Abel's there. And he goes, hey, Mark. He's looking at me like this. He's touching me. I'm a big guy. He goes, I got a middleweight. He just won the Golden Gloves. He had to spar. He's fighting a middleweight who's a big guy. He says, you want to come and do me spar? He says, listen, I'll take you to lunch. You wear the mask and the gloves. Just spar. I need him a big target. I'm telling you, Kevin. I go to Lost Battalion Hall. I put my shorts and sweatpants on. He gives me the 16-ounce gloves. And the guy's sparring with me. All of a sudden, this middleweight, who was a Golden Glove champion, who was 6-0, starts hitting me with rockets. Tony, I couldn't even see his hands move. 165 pounds. And he's moving like a machine gun. Busting me up. I'm telling him, Abel, what the hell's wrong with this? I'm sorry. The guy says, come on, you can't take it, big guy. All of a sudden, they had the stool. I took the stool. I ran over and I cracked him right over the freaking head with the stool. He went flying out of the ring. Abel screams, Mark, the guy beat me up, Tony. I'm all bruised up. I'm supposed to spar. He says, the guy's too fast. I couldn't see his punches. But that's when I first realized boxes, we had a lot of fights in the streets.
Oh, yeah.
The boxes were like lightning fast. You couldn't even see their hands move. But Abel says, Mark, go. I go back to Club Tony and says, you hit the boxer with a stool. He gave him 8 stitches in the back of his ear. The guy beat the shit out of me. I told him, what am I do? But that's the first. So you guys who box, that's a nice talent. That's hard to do. Plus you need stamina too, But that was fun.
Well, I used to put shows on for the guys coming back from the Second World War.
Really?
We used to put shows on boxing and wrestling. There were wrestlers. I used to go to all the hospitals.
I was telling Kevin, I was telling Tony, I talked on the phone the other day. I want to lay out. I want to do your life story. Very interesting life story. I want to lay it out. Maybe we'll put it in the show.
Well, I
or
got a
script.
lot.
We'll put it in a book. I want to put it in a book. I want to write it out. I think it deserves to be told.
Sure.
A legal legacy to your grandkids, whatever, great grandkids, whatever it is. I think it should be told. I wrote a couple screenplays that are good. I know how to write. I as a friend, let's just do. I just want to see it explode. And I have
You got a deal.
And I got listen. And
It's a shame.
You even got to go back to the Brooklyn Copa.
My life, I want to leave something that the people could understand.
So what I'm gonna do is
about this other life that they think that's so bad.
We're gonna meet up. I know you got a lot on audio tape stuff that I'm gonna lay it out. I'll write it for you. We're gonna after I finish writing it, we're gonna sit down and you're gonna proofread everything. Make sure everything you like. I have some people in the industry, some publishers that I could go to. One of them has taken my script already.
Good.
And so we could bring it. I think it should. And I want to pick a title. I wanted to pick a title because a title that grabs attention.
Well, I got it for you.
What is it?
Because that's a name I gave it. My grandfather's. That's the name of it.
My grandfather's?
My grandfather's. Yeah, I had 2 grandfathers.
Okay.
You want to hear about my grandfathers?
Well, I want to hear it, but I want to save the story.
Yeah, we'll save that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
We're also going to save the Brooklyn Copa.
I'm talking about they cut from the other side. And all the stories from there, I got,
I want to put it all in context, but you know what?
It's all the stuff that it was.
Tony, I was driving here and I was laughing to myself. And I said, if somebody sees me laughing, I said, I want to do his book because I think his story should be told. And I'm thinking of a name that would grab attention, right? And because it has so much to do with what you developed and what you made. So I want it to be a blank in quotes, Tony Chickens. You know why? Because everybody will know who Tony Chickens is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a title everybody will remember. And I respect, you could put the story about your grandfather's in there, but I think your story dwarfs that.
Beyond.
And so, and I think the name Tony Chickens would be a great title, right, Jerry?
I agree.
Because I think, okay, Tony Chickens, who's this guy? And to see this story, I think you should talk. We're going to do it. I'll talk to you more about it because I tell you guys, you guys, listen, we're planning on something, Tony. This is new to you. I'm going to tell you. Me and Kevin, we're planning on putting a show together.
Good. When I was MCC, I was there when the commission case was on.
Yeah.
And all the guys there ate very good while I was there.
Well, so I want to do the show. I want you to come on as a guest too, because I want you to add to it. I want the show to go stream. I don't want it to just go on podcast. I want it to go on networks. I want it to go around the world because we're going to do something different with our plan is we're going to enlighten a lot of people and get a lot of fans. I have a production company. I started a production company. You know what the name of it? Stand Up Productions. Stand Up Productions. That's only for stand-up people. I want to Stand Up Productions. And I got it. I have a couple scripts. I have this show. I want to incorporate it. Any fans, I'm not looking for investors per se. I want my fans to know if you want to be part of it. I own 100% of the shares, but we're willing to distribute 49% of the shares legally, everything legal. We have a lot of productions. You want to do a TV production? You guys want to be involved? You'll let me know. I'm gonna limit to, we got 5,000 shares. I'm gonna limit to 2,500 people. I want to do, and it's legitimate. It's not gonna cost you just a lot of money, but if you want to get involved, we're not looking for donations. You can buy as many shares you want. These people, not for you, it's for these peoples out there. I think this story, this show idea, and the production company will do great.
Very good.
And, you've done productions. I know you can help. Your insight helps. My fans, if you're really interested, I don't know the numbers yet. I'm putting together. We're rebuilding a Burger Hunt Fish Club, right, Kevin?
That's it.
We got the drawings, the specs out already, and we're going to shoot the show from inside the club, Tony. It's going to be great. We're going to have people there. It's going to be really nice. And
you want to do some cooking in there?
We can do some cooking in there. Well, I tell the people, you used to cook. One of John's favorite pasta dishes, right, was filetto di pomodoro.
Yeah.
And he used to make I think they were 10-inch fusilli. and but
He liked Fusillis. That's what he
oh,
liked.
you like Fusilli, yeah, you like
That's
Fusilli.
my favorite too.
Yeah, it is. It's but Kevin, we used to laugh. They used to eat, Kevin. He could eat.
Tell me about it.
Oh, I'm
Every
telling you, he could
Wednesday
eat.
night going there eating.
And the best is, I was a fat guy. I was always a big guy. I couldn't eat as much as these guys. I watched them, they put food away, Tony, and laugh about it,
But they ran around too much. That's what it was.
Well, that's what it is. They're always running around. Listen, but they could go from the level they were at to the level we were at like that. It wasn't they got egos like, okay, people like the guy had a big ego. Guys, no, some guys didn't know how to shut the ego off. John knew how to shut his ego off. John knew how to be one of the underdogs, one of the underbellies. You know what I mean? John knew that,
Yeah.
and guys like Jeannie and Angelo, all them guys, and like Tony Lee, and they knew how to shut that off. So but we're gonna tell more stories. You're gonna come in on another show when you got time.
I got plenty.
Yeah, I know.
I know that.
I got a lot of stories. These fans are gonna get hooked on us. I'm telling you. So I want them to subscribe, everything. I want them to lay it on. Subscribe, hit that bell, please. Tell your friends like it. Tony's gonna be on more. I want Kevin. Kevin has a couple stories we were talking about. Oh, we promised the fans, Kevin. Tony, me and Kevin, we promised him we're gonna put up pictures. I'm gonna load up pictures on the podcast site. So you see the pictures we got. You find any pictures, let me know, right? We get some pictures of older days. You got guys, Tony, if you have any old guys from the street that you took pictures with, we'll take them. They're dead. We'll put them up. They want to see pictures. And I got a list.
The only pictures I got is what the FBI's got.
Well, that's what I said.
Got them pictures too.
Yeah, I know. I said, the guy says, Mark, you got any
Looking
pictures?
at funerals,
The guy says to me,
weddings.
you got any pictures hanging out by the club? I said the agents or the cops probably have a file for surveillance photos. Because a lot of the pictures you've seen at a Bergen are exterior shots of surveillance photos.
Yeah.
They don't have no interior pictures. There wasn't cameras back then.
First of all, there was never a lot of camera around us.
Yeah, so if any pictures are of the Bergen, I don't have them. I'm looking for them. I'm going to ask some other old friends. They might have one or two. I think they might, and I'm going to ask them. I'll put them up for you guys. But I have a drawing. You're going to show you the drawing on the next show of the Bergen interior, and we'll show you what we're going to build. So if you want to be part of an owner of Stand-Up Productions with us, and do this.
All the people I hung out with didn't want the movie.
Oh no, they didn't want. Listen, there's pictures of Richie Gotti's, our friend John's brother, our friend social club, but that was a different joint because it was public. A lot of Italians came there for espresso. Used to play cards. That was different, but. The Bergen was shut down. 5, 6 o'clock. The doors were locked. That's it.
Until he used to tell us one night we would pass them by and the lights were on. Go check on what's going on in there.
I tell you, one day I pull up in front of the kid Jerry, the little kid Jerry that hung on the street.
Jerry.
We drive by and we see lights, like a flashlight in the club, but the club doors are locked on the outside.
I was with you too one night with that.
3 times they bugged that place. They broke in to bug the place. The best part is the bugs, Tony, they look like they got them from fucking Get Smart, from Maxwell Smart. They were these old-fashioned bugs. It was the NYPD, Remo Francisini guys. I would tell...
Which I want to say.
Yeah.
He was just one of the detectives was on the podcast. And the guy did a great job. He turned around and talked so highly about John that John was a respected guy. When we came to get him,
he was a nice guy.
He
says
he was
not like some of these guys. And I used to be one of them with nasty.
Yeah,
I used to turn around. I used to like, hey, you want to?
But you understand, my friend. I love you. That's going from childhood up. You were he was a Dennis the Menace when he was a little kid. You know what I mean, Tony?
Yeah. Well, look who my teacher was. Look who Tony. Tony was that way.
But see what he's saying about this. I'm going to try to clip the video, get a cut. But the idea is, it's on YouTube. It's a couple of years old, or a year old. So this detective was in. Remo Francisini started Mulberry Street, went to South Brooklyn. Remo Francisini, Queens investigative squad. He took pictures. He says, John, you could tell when John walked in a room, you knew who the leader was, even before the Paul Castellano thing.
And smart.
He walked guys smart, the detail, not overly loud. Guys gravitated around him. He said to myself, I've been around. I was in the army. I was in, he says, the military. That's a leader, a natural leader. You could see it in his actions. You know, and guys want to talk about, well, he was flamboyant, you know,
Yeah.
that wasn't him. They made him into that. You know what I mean? He wasn't going to, but this is a cop, a detective who
Yeah.
praised him for being true to who he
Good.
was, an icon. That I took that, I showed it to Kevin. I'm gonna plant it for my guests. I want you to see it, watch it. You know, listen, I'm not praising the detective, but just that statement out of John, that little clip, I'm gonna put the clip on the post. I'm gonna post it for them.
Right.
Hey Ty, how we doing, Ty?
We're at 52.
What you say?
Good. I also want to thank everyone that called me and it said that they loved the show and everything. So I want to thank you guys too.
Yeah, we
Please
listen,
subscribe. You know,
we're not breeding hate here, you know. So you know, I got a lot of fans, a lot of nice comments. You guys are great. You know, like I said, Donnie Ragusa, right? Good guy. Muggsy, I know you're a long time. This guy Muggsy, such a little kid. Thank you. So we'll see you soon. We're gonna tape it again. I'm gonna put some shorts up for you guys. Tony, thank you.
Thank you.
My friend. Nice seeing you. You look great.
Been a pleasure with you guys.
Tony, you'll be back. My friends, Tony will be back. Me and Kim
Well,
are
I got
back.
a lot of stories for you.
say
We're gonna
hello
be-
to say hello to
about
Julie.
Yeah.
Keep her.
I will.
I have
I
her
will.
in my prayers.
And
I will. Thank
yeah.
you.
in your prayers
Thank
for your
you.
wife. And we'll talk soon. I'll talk to you. I'll give you a call and we'll talk more and we'll get something done. But my fans, thank you for now.
Thank you.
God bless everybody. Stay healthy and safe. We'll talk to you soon. Stay well, my friend.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.